A fierce advocate is found dead when she is scheduled to testify in court. Dawn Pasela, Parma, Ohio. April 25, 2012. Dawn Pasela always had a hunger for the truth, and was a fierce advocate for justice. But, when Dawn found herself wrapped up in a case with prosecutorial misconduct, did individuals around her with power take their threats too far? Born in 1985 to loving parents Edward Ed and Karen Pasela, Dawn's personality as a rebellious and high-spirited little girl evolved quickly. Both Ed and Karen shared with Uncovered that when Dawn was a young girl, you could tell her the sky was blue, and she'd tell you that it was pink just because she could. Her curious nature was there from the start. As Ed shared with Uncovered, she questioned everything. If we told her to do something, she didn't mind doing it, but she wanted to know why, the reason behind us telling her to do something. She was very analytical. Dawn was always surrounded by friends, even as a kid. Dawn was such a leader that she sometimes got her friends roped in to push authoritarian buttons together. Dawn was homeschooled and part of a group that had a fairly strict dress code. The girls, preteens at the time, were expected to wear dark blue pants and a white blouse. Even though she liked to push buttons with authority, Dawn knew when to respect teachers and excel in her academics. In college, Dawn graduated at the top of her class at both Cleveland State and at Cuyahoga County Community College. She was president and founder of Phi Theta Kappa, a member of the National Honor Society's Dean's List and an important participant in the Criminal Justice Club. Her desire to snuff out injustice and help people only grew as she got older. After graduating, Dawn was hired in 2009 by prosecutors Dan Casares and Mark Bennett to serve as office manager of a multi-jurisdictional mortgage fraud task force. When she wasn't at work, Dawn was an avid volunteer with multiple groups, namely a disabled children's sports group and a food kitchen. On her lunch hour, she'd go to the local mall, buy roses, and pass them out to people who she thought needed them. Her family had no idea of this generosity. They learned about it for the first time from people who came to Dawn's funeral. Everything changed when Dawn was ordered to engage in less than ethical business for the prosecutors in 2009. Rather than admit a mistake and dismiss a 2008 case against real estate broker Anthony Viola, Casares directed Dawn to go to a free Tony Viola event and pose as a graduate student. While there, she was told to record conversations with Viola so prosecutors could obtain confidential defense trial strategy information about upcoming trials. Casares and Bennett also had Dawn write a check for Viola's legal defense fund so prosecutors could use Dawn's canceled check to identify the law firm's bank account and Viola's supporters. Individuals who assisted Viola's defense or offered to testify as defense were then threatened with prosecution if they continued to assist Viola. Dawn was told that her job would be jeopardized if she didn't follow through with this. Things started to become more troubling in 2009 through 2011. While working as the office manager, Dawn realized files were being taken and not returned while others were forging her signature to take out documents. At the same time, Dawn continued to gain evidence on Viola, only to realize that the prosecutors were withholding exculpatory evidence against Viola. In other words, the prosecutors had information that would have proven Viola's innocence, but hid it to cover their mistakes and keep him imprisoned. Dawn knew this wasn't okay, and set out to right the wrong. She contacted Viola herself and gave him the evidence that he was missing, and offered to testify at his second trial about the prosecutorial misconduct. Because of this new information, Dawn was subpoenaed in March of 2012 for Tony's upcoming trial. Defense subpoena for Dawn Pasela to testify. Her bosses, Casares and Bennett, got wind of this, and began threatening Dawn that she'd go to federal prison if she appeared in court against them, claiming Dawn was breaking a confidentiality agreement that she never signed. The threats got worse, and Dawn was terrified of their power. Casares even went as far as to intimidate Dawn's parents, showing up at their home and claiming they wanted to search for computers and hard drives. Dawn's father Ed told them they would need to return with a warrant. They never did. Dawn was filled with fear. She began to drink excessively and eventually left her apartment to stay with her parents for roughly 2 weeks because she didn't feel safe. She was even parking her car in her parents' garage for fear of being spotted if her car was parked along the street. Thankfully, after spending time with her parents, she felt more confident and left to go back to her own apartment. Days later, things took a turn for the worse. Dawn became increasingly fearful about testifying, so she missed the timeframe to come speak. As a result, Judge Daniel Gall issued a bench warrant for her arrest. Bench warrant for Dawn. Just as Dawn was scheduled to testify against the prosecutors, Dawn was found dead in her apartment following a welfare check her father ordered. 6 officers arrived on the scene, which is out of the ordinary for wellness checks, and when Dawn's body was discovered, no one in her family was allowed to identify her. Strangely, the heat was on inside the apartment, set to 80 degrees, despite the beautiful weather and one of the windows being open. Moreover, 2 cell phones were discovered in the unit that did not belong to Dawn. Cell phone records indicate there was an outgoing call placed on Dawn's cell phone at 4:39 a.m. the day her body was later discovered by the Parma Police Department. This is suspicious, considering Dawn's time of death was roughly 18 to 24 hours before her body was found. Her passing was initially attributed to an alcohol overdose with a blood alcohol content of 0.59. This is troubling, considering Dawn's parents know they dumped all of the alcohol in her apartment the night she was last seen alive. There was no vomit found anywhere in her unit, making claims about her drinking to such intensity difficult to follow. Still, since the police failed to investigate or look at the surrounding circumstances, suspicions of foul play have never been seen through by law enforcement. Recently obtained public records confirm that on the day Dawn Pasela died, Prosecutor Dan Casares disposed of his laptop computer. While the Cuyahoga County Medical Examiner's Office produced police records that the Parma Police failed to produce pursuant to prior records requests, including the discovery of multiple cell phones at the death scene. In 2023, attorney Kim Corral began assisting the Pasela family and asked law enforcement officials to reopen an investigation into Dawn's death. As a result, Detective John Morgan of the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Office reviewed the case file and determined that the Parma Police failed to follow basic police procedure, failed to collect any evidence or interview any witnesses, even though multiple individuals had discussed Dawn's murder and Dawn's computer was missing when her body was found. According to Detective Morgan, after reviewing the Parma Police case file, it was clear that the Parma Police Department did not investigate the death of the decedent. There was not one interview conducted in this matter. An area canvass, in this case, a canvass of the decedent's neighbors located in the apartment building, was not completed. Furthermore, there is not any indication in any of the police reports provided that an attempt was made to retrieve video surveillance from the apartment complex entry/exits, and there was no attempt to preserve any evidence collected at the crime scene. The Parma Police reports do not include any mention of mobile cellular devices located inside the department. Ryder was unaware after reading the initial police investigative reports or looking through the photographs taken from the scene, that a mobile cellular device was located inside the decedent's apartment. The writer only discovered there were three mobile cellular devices located at the decedent's apartment from the Cuyahoga County Medical Examiner's investigators report. Furthermore, a mobile cellular device was pictured in the medical examiner's photographs with an outgoing call to a telephone number at 4:39 hours on the day that the decedent's body was discovered by the Parma Police Department. The Cuyahoga County Sheriff also recommended that the following individuals be interviewed because they have knowledge of the circumstances surrounding Dawn's death. Attorney John Patrick, the brother of Prosecutor Casares, Susan Casares, and Catherine Clover. Recently, on June 29, 2023, Mark Bennett, Dawn's former boss, faced the Ohio Supreme Court for accusations of inappropriate sexual advances towards an intern. The Ohio Supreme Court has not yet ruled whether Bennett's law license will be suspended. On August 16, 2023, Dawn's family and friends hosted a rally seeking justice in her case at the Parma City Hall. The rally follows the discovery of new evidence confirming Dawn was the victim of foul play and the city of Parma's refusal to investigate or allow other law enforcement agencies to investigate Dawn's death. Karen Pasela, Dawn's mother, said, "We went to the Parma police over a year ago in good faith and provided them with a great deal of evidence that required an investigation by the proper authorities. We are putting this rally together hoping that more people will come forward and share what they know. If you have information or know anything about the death of Dawn Pasela, please contact Bob Friedrich at 440-546-8393 or bob@fainvestigations.com. or Tony Viola at 330-998-3290 or Mr. Tony Viola at iCloud.com.